All right, it helps when you actually have your camera on to live stream. Sorry for the delay. I moved things back a little bit today just to better coincide kind of with child care, so to speak. So let's jump right in because, yeah, I probably only have about a half hour today. So last time we installed Cashier to make a site that's going to sell the limited print editions of the BaseCode field guide that I have available. So we figured that out in Cashier, we jumped into Stripe, we configured the product, and then we're just using Stripe checkout to make things easier. And as I said last time, we really don't need Cashier or even Laravel for that matter for something this simple. I'm just selling a single product. I could just create a Stripe checkout link directly. And I think had I not wanted stream content, I would have done that. But again, this is a cool chance to use Laravel, spin up a quick app, demonstrate Cashier, how quick it is to sell something, whether it be a service or whatever. So again, I just thought it was good for stream content. I think as a kind of a Yagni, as an MVP, I would have just made a Stripe checkout link directly to the Stripe billing portal. I could have generated such a page as this in there much more quickly. But again, makes for good content, and you can see here how we would set up a site to sell much more. In fact, Laravel Shift does exactly this. It has a product page that you enter certain details about your shift, the repository, the branch, and which service you're using, you connect, and all that stuff, and then you go to Stripe checkout. So just kind of a window into a larger system that I thought, again, made for good content. So that's what we worked on last time. We kind of got all the back-end stuff flowing, and we ended with an order model because there are going to be pieces of information that we need to track within this application. And that's kind of where you get into this gray area of, yes, you could do that in Stripe checkout, but you have to start adding kind of metadata, probably some more manual labor. Like I would need to email these people and say, like, how do you want it signed, for example? So here's where this screen comes into play. I've jumped out to Tailwind UI. This is the only part I've done off stream. I jumped out to Tailwind UI. I took this little template, this e-commerce product overview template. And basically, this is where I'll just drop in everything. Now, it's not very fun to see me type product descriptions and put in product images. I have a rendered image of the cover, and I'll put that over here instead of this rucksack. And then just put in here what it is. Today, what I want to focus on, again, is not necessarily the UI, UX here. Today, probably what I want to focus on is submitting this, first of all, actually creating the order information, and then also too, I think the fun part to focus on today would be this piece. Just kind of getting a feel for what this is. This would be cool if this were a little bit live. And what I mean by that is, like, again, I only have a limited number of these to sell, 30. They may go fast, they may not go at all. Who knows? But I think it would be fun, as with any limited product, to kind of have this obviously update. And then as it gets to like lower numbers, under 10 or something, maybe it changes colors or something along those lines. Again, I'm not too worried about the UI, but I think what would be fun to kind of work on is to use the cache probably to put a hold. Like if you're going to go to a concert, right, or any kind of event, and it's again, it's a popular event or something, you've probably seen during checkout when you book something like that, even an airline ticket, like, oh, we're going to hold this order for you for 10 minutes, right? Now, again, I don't expect that kind of demand, but for a fun content streaming, let's pretend that everyone wants a copy of this printed signed edition. So I want to build in that kind of feature. I think it'd be fun. So what's kind of like a hold feature that we can put in there? So let's get this form submitting, and then that shouldn't take too long, even if we got to fake some data. Let's get this form submitting. Let's save the order. And then with that, maybe we can do some kind of hold with the cache and session data to kind of figure this out, right? So something that kind of decreases this count. We want to track this in some kind of way. So let's do that. Let's check it out. Okay, so here's kind of all of the code, again, that I just kind of pulled from Tailwind UI. This will all get updated. So this will basically be like the signed option. It'll be like, you know, custom signature, no signatures, or signed or unsigned, you know, or whatever. Like, you choose that, and of course your email address, pretty straightforward, and then buy now. So the buy now is going to go to, oh yes, of course, let's fill this out. So just me, that's fine. Oh, did I kill the backend? I did. So let's do composer run dev. Let's not kill the backend. So right now this is not going to be submittable because the form fields that it expects are not here. So again, we're going to fake it for now just to start building this order out. So I go here, let's try this again. We'll do buy yours now, and we should get kicked back here. We don't have any error messaging, but the validation is broken. So two things. First, let's get here on value, and let's make this be old email, right? If we refresh this and I plug this in here again, all right, so we can see here that we're getting kicked back. Again, I don't have any errors right now, but I will work on that UI. So what I want to do is just fake this for now to make sure that we're able to actually submit this and start building our order. And then we're going to be able to use that to kind of put a hold and adjust these numbers. So let's mess around with that. What do we need though? If we go to our order controller and look at, we need email, which we have. We don't have signed or this option string, which again is nullable. It's not required. So let's see here. I think you need to put in nullable here. Yeah, I think you need to put in nullable here. Honestly, that nullable is always like a weird one for me. Because like the default I believe is that something is nullable. Now, the tricky thing is string, though, does it allow it to be empty? Does string allow null? No. So, you know, in these cases where you have like nullable string and you don't really have like a strict thing here, like a lot of times I would just get rid of that, right? Because like options there, it's no big deal. But if you have other qualifiers here, such as like, you know, int or integer or whatever, like I could see having nullable, and then otherwise it needs to be, you know, numeric. So it all just depends. I mean, that's where nullable lives. So nullable is just always kind of like a brain bending thing. Like, why would you even put that there? But you need to put it there if you actually care about the data type of the value, if it is present. That's when it matters. So let's go back to our form, and I think for now what I'm going to do is just jump up here, and I think there's like, is there hidden? I always forget. I don't think there's a hidden. So let's just do input type hidden, and then we'll do name is signed, and we'll say value is, what do we say, Boolean required. We don't have anything on it, so it's just required is all that it is. So let's just say to do, right? And then same thing on option, right? And for now, I don't even know if option's necessary again. So for now, I'm just going to send it across as nothing. Now I think if we go back and refresh and we put in my email address, great. Okay, cool. So now we're in a place where this stuff is attempting to save. And this was all generated by Blueprint last time. We actually didn't write any of the code here. So validated comes across. So what's wrong? Probably some of this stuff isn't fillable. No such table orders. Okay, so my guess is we need to run MFS. Okay, cool. Let's run this back up. And we should be able, of course, it expired, why not? Continue. All right, so refresh, add me, everything else is there. Again, we'll get all this going. Okay, so not null, constraint, failed order option. Option's not null. It should be nullable. Let's go fix that and run MFS again. So let's go to orders, and I think that, I thought I made that nullable. Anyway, not a huge deal. Let's go back. That happened last time. I think I still need to update PHP Storm. Okay, 15th time is a charm. Here we go. There's me. Run it. Stripe ID. Stripe ID. What? Oh, the Stripe ID is the Stripe ID is going to be the saved trans. Oh, so that needs to be nullable as well. Okay. Wow, we missed all of the nullable stuff here. Nullable. There we go. All right. Doing the dance. Here we go. Here we go. 16th time is a charm. No whammies. Cool. There we go. It goes to Stripe checkout. Awesome. Okay. That's what we wanted. It goes to Stripe checkout. Again, we'll have all this print edition stuff and all that stuff match the other piece there. So cool. We came across. Okay, so let's go. We need to slow down here now. And what do we need to do? So Blueprint generated all that code, and this is what we kind of messed with. We've got this order data that came across. I don't think this shows up anywhere over here. Oh, what we also need to do is pass that email address. So we can look that up here in a minute. But yeah, we need to pass that email address. I don't know what it is in here. I think it's just customer email. I think that does it. So cancel goes back to order create. Okay, so cancel goes back to order create. So what we should also do is to do if order ID is in session, prefill form data, right? So we can come back to that, but we should do that as a nicety if they somehow come back. We should also, to that point, we should also release any hold on product. Okay. Yeah, okay, so we should release. Okay, so now let's focus on that part, because this is all functional. This would work. Again, it needs UIs and it needs, content, but like this works. If you finished buying now, you would go to a thank you page that, marked your order as complete. So what we need to do now is let's think about this count. What can we do with this count? Let's go back. Can we cancel? Or is there like a back? Back. Okay, so we come back here. Cool. Let's think about this count. How is this count? This count gets seeded. This count will get seeded in the beginning. This account gets seeded in the beginning. So let's just say I configure it. It's just a little configuration option. I seed it with, I could even just hard code 33. And then the actual count would be 33 minus however many orders have been completed. How many orders have a Stripe ID that's not null, right? And then that would give me the count at all times. And then you would need to also subtract it by how many orders were currently on hold. So how could we do that part? Do we even need to track that part? You could just do an order based on, you could just do when the order was created at and Stripe was null. You don't even need to really get that fancy with the cache. And again, this isn't like a super high demand product. This is kind of just for fun. I'm just trying to think about the implementation here. I think the implementation is as simple as probably putting like, I think for now, I mean, you could build a little service class out of this, but like, you would really just call decrement. You would really just call like decrement and increment. Do I want to do a service class? I'm trying to think. Do I want to do a service class? I think let's just put it on the order model for now. I think the Yagni approach is just put it on the order model. Don't think about it too much. Just start putting it somewhere, and as it grows, you can refactor and move it somewhere else. So let's just do this. Let's do a public static. Let's do a public static like products left. Again, this is a bit ugly, but it's just the naive approach, right? Ah, how did I get weird completion there? Okay, cool. Oh, function, sorry. Public static function products left. There we go. All right, and then for now, we can just return 30. And let's just go link this up for fun. Where is that? Where's 33? There it is. Okay, so this is really order products left. All right. Does this still work? Oh, of course. You need to composer run dev. What do we do here? Refresh. Did I kill it? View exception. Oh, it doesn't know what order is. Duh. Let's do app model order. All right, let's try that again. Cool. There it is. Okay, so only 30 left. All right, cool. So if we go back here, we're just returning 30. So what we really want to do now, and again, we would cache all this eventually, but for now, let's just do the math. We basically say, we basically need ordered equals order where null or where not null stripe ID, right? And then it's count. And then you have hold would be order where null stripe ID and, or sorry, where, not and. I'm writing SQL. And created at is greater than now sub minutes. We'll give them 5 minutes to complete their order. All right. And you would basically take 30 minus ordered. Now again, we'd need to handle like negative and all that stuff. Excuse me. But hold. Now we do have an order in the database, and it should be within the last 5 minutes. So what I would expect to see if this worked is 29. So if I refresh, we should see 29, I would think. We don't. Okay, let's go check that out. Is my math right? Created at is greater than. Maybe it was more than 5 minutes ago. Let's bump this to 10 and see if it says 29. There it does. Okay, 29. So we were just more than 5 minutes ago. Okay, so that is working. Now, do I want to calculate that on every page load? Probably not. I mean, is it a super expensive thing? No. I mean, I could put an index on Stripe ID and it would at least help a little bit. And again, we're not talking about a lot of orders here. I mean, once there's 30 records in the database, effectively, like, I'm sold out. So this isn't a very expensive query. So I wouldn't go so far as to say I need to cache this, but like, why the heck not, right? So let's say cache yeah, let's say cache get, and we can put what we have here in the callback, right? So let's import the facade. We'll say cache get products left, right? And then we have like a function which is going to return everything we do here. And then we'll effectively return this, and we'll basically only cache this for, a few minutes. So it should get updated. Again, I don't expect high demand. There are loopholes here. There are loopholes on anything. If you were the last one to book something on a flight, like theoretically when that's on hold, you get a chance, it would show other people that you're sold out. Right? So, I mean, I would need to build that into there. Like, again, if this ever was negative, like I just say sold out, and I just disable the buy now button. So that would allow the person that's checking out with an order on hold to finish. Now, if they didn't finish, then theoretically the next person that comes to the website, they're going to see one product left and they're going to buy it. So as long as you basically say, hey, this thing's got to be greater than 0, otherwise show. So it's not a big deal if it ever truly somehow was calculated as negative. But again, you'd have to do some cache locking and all that kind of stuff when you actually saved the record in the database. You'd want to double check, right? That's what you'd want to do. Like to kind of finish the thought here, what you'd want to do is basically before you did order create, you would need to do like a real-time check to ensure, products left, right? So you would do a cache lock on that, check it. If it's good, then put the order create in, and then you release that lock. That way no one else could do while that transaction effectively is running. Not a database transaction, but while the cache lock was in place, that's what you would need to do. You'd need to wrap that here, make sure that products were left within the lock, so that way no one else is checking or changing at that point in time. So there's some complexity there if you really, really want to do your best to ensure. Now, again, do I actually have that demand? No. So I think this is okay, so long as there's, again, a check that says, oh, if products left are 0, make sure you're displaying, sold out. Anyway, I think this works. We just need to add, what does cache get have? Cache key. I thought you need to cache get. Get automatically puts it in there, right? What am I missing here? Do you need to chain something? Do you need to chain like a TTL? No, you can't do that. Let's go look at the cache lock thing. I forgot how that worked. Laravel.com. Let's look at cache. Let's finish this out real quick. Cache get. You may pass a closure. The result of the closure will be returned if the specified item passing a closure allows you to define the retrieval default values from a database or other service. The question is, does that automatically put it back in there though? I forget. Yeah, retrieve and store. Sometimes you may wish to retrieve an item from the cache, but also store a default value. Okay, yeah, here it is. Here it is. Sorry, it's remember. It's not get, it's remember. Sorry, I got those two confused. Thank you. Just came through in the chat. Okay, remember now takes a key, the date interval. Okay, so let's break this up so we can see it better. And we'll say some date interval. So for now, I'll just do that. So TTL in seconds. So 3,600 seconds is 60 minutes. That's way too long. So let's, how long? 5 minutes? Every few minutes? Again, I don't expect crazy high demand. Do every few minutes. So let's just say 5 minutes. So that's 300 seconds, right? Could do something like that. Are there fancy ones like 5 minutes? Stale while revalidate. Sometimes when, oh yeah, I remember this. When using cache remember, some users may experience slow response times. Again, this isn't a slow query, so I'm not too worried about that, but like this flexible thing's pretty cool. It would allow you to return a stale value while it computed it for the next person. In this case, I probably don't want to do that. Again, those are where some of those edge cases start to creep in. So I'm okay with it waiting here, because again, I don't expect this query to be crazy long. And again, this is like hard-coded 30 here. There's a lot of hard-coded stuff here. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Okay. So cache remember. It's going to remember it for 3 minutes, we're saying. So if we go back here, we refresh, we're back to 30, because now I've blabbered on for 5 more minutes. So the product that was in there is more than 10 minutes old. In fact, let's go ahead and put this back. The chat's in my way. So let's put this back to 5 because it doesn't matter anymore. Now what's funny is actually if I change this to 15, I should still see 30 here because it's cached. Okay? So there's the cache thing. So that's why in order, we're probably still going to need to make that check in order, right? Because of the cache, this is where everything balances in. So again, all the blabbering here, you can kind of start to see why this little itty bitty tiny feature is actually it's kind of complex relative to all the other stuff we've done. Everything else is super straightforward. You know, form validation and redirecting to Stripe, all that's easy. You know, saving to the database, super easy. These are the complexities within your application that are kind of interesting. So that's why I thought it'd kind of be fun to work on this. So the point is that this little comment that I made over here probably needs to happen. So just to tidy things up, even though I said I don't think we need to do this, let's go ahead and do it. Let's look at some cache locking. We're playing around with caching today. We got the docs up. Let's go take a look. Atomic locks. Here we go. To utilize this feature, you must be using memcache, Redis, file, or array cache. So pretty much any of the cache drivers you must be using. Okay, cool. I'll probably be using Redis, so it's all good. Managing locks. So atomic locks allow you for a manipulation of distributed locks without worrying about race conditions, meaning 2 people submitting an order at the same exact time, and then they're both trying to buy. This is going to prevent that, theoretically. Okay, so Laravel Cloud uses atomic locks to ensure that only one remote task is being executed on a server at a time. You may create and manage locks using cache lock. Here we go. Cache lock. Okay, so we create a lock. Lock is acquired for 10 seconds. Lock release. Okay, cool. The get method also accepts a closure. After the closure is executed, Laravel will automatically release the lock. If the lock is not available when you request it, you may instruct Laravel to wait a certain number of seconds. If the lock cannot be acquired within that time limit, a lock timeout exception is thrown. Okay, interesting. All right. Here's an example of simplified. Okay, here we go. Lock acquired for 10 seconds after waiting a maximum of 5 seconds. Managing locks across processes. Sometimes you may wish to wire lock in one process and release another. I don't need to do that. This is what we want. We want to create a lock for ordering, you know, order placed, whatever, placing order, doesn't really matter. The app's very, very small, and there's not necessarily going to be a key conflict here. So we can make a lock called placing order. We're going to lock it. I don't even think we need to pass in a number here. I think it could just be automatically released, right? Also accepts a closure. After the closure is executed, Laravel will automatically release the lock. Okay, yes. So let's borrow this code. Let's borrow this code. And what we would do is we would say placing order. I don't think, is this required? The actual lock time? Oh my gosh. I hate when PHP Storm collapses these. Like it went to the right place and then because of its formatting it like moved. What is this? So int seconds 0. I assume 0 seconds just means lock it forever. I'm gonna drop off the seconds. We'll block, let's just block for 3 seconds. Lock is required for 10 seconds after waiting a maximum of 3 seconds. Okay, so what happens in here? What happens in here is effectively we need to check. We need to check products left. Now, here's the interesting thing. We need to check products left while busting the cache. We need to get a legitimate real-time hit on that. So can we do that with the cache facade? I think so. I think you can. I think you can. Yeah, we need a real-time check. I think you can say like, I think you can say, it's not flush. I think there's like a refresh maybe. I feel like Tim McDonald, or maybe that was Memoize. I feel like Tim McDonald recently did that. Does this return something? Can you return something from a lock? Or does he only get the lock? Managing locks across processes. If you would like to release a lock without respecting its current owner, okay, forget that. How do you, can you return something from the closure? If the lock cannot be, okay, fine. Passing a closure to block, when the closure is passed, Laravel will attempt. I wonder if you can. Part of me feels like you can. After the closure is executed, Laravel will automatically release the lock. I wish we could probably dig into core and figure that out. Okay, block null, return mixed, block, blah, 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 blah. Return, here we go, return callback, return the result of the callback. Otherwise return true. Okay, so it does return the result. So we should be able to say order equals that and return this out of there. This should all still work. We just need the real-time check of products, which is basically going back to the docs and seeing if there's a way to get, like, bypass remember and get me a real value. If not, we can, that's where we could wrap the thing up in a service and know that we always have the underlying call. But I feel like there's a way to do that. Cache uses retrieving items from the cache. Let's check this out. Method retrieve items of the items. Okay, so definitely get determining item existence hash. Retrieve and store. Sometimes, okay, fine. That's remember. We saw that. Remember forever. Stale while revalidate. We don't want to do that. Retrieve and delete. If you need to retrieve an item, nope, we don't want to do that. Storing items in the cache. Store if not present, so there's add. Removing items, nope. We don't want to clear the entire cache. We definitely don't want to memoize it. Well, sorry. We'd want to memoize it for other parts of the page, but we don't want to mess, that's not going to help us in this instance. All right, chat. Does anybody in the chat know if... I don't think there's a way. The more I think about it, I don't know why Laravel, I don't know why the cache facade would have that. Like what I'm thinking of, here's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of like a it's almost like a cache like pull, it's like a cache pull fresh or something, you know, it's like a cache refresh, you know, products left, and this would give me, you know, the value. Now, this is what I'm like thinking of in the ideal world, right? But I could see why this doesn't exist, because then the cache needs to become a little bit of a registry. It has to know what it means to calculate this product's key and therefore be able to refresh it. And that's not really how this code works. Caching is just kind of like this simple layer that wraps your other stuff, meaning it's really products left that knows, you know, to do the thing, right? This is where that kind of simple service object comes into play, is a way to wrap that. The point here is that the caching layer is kind of lightweight. It's not meant to necessarily be that kind of registry. It's just meant to, I'm trying to think how to say this. It's kind of just meant to be an implementation detail that's hidden. Doesn't matter if you're caching this or not. You're kind of just doing it for performance. Once you start to go down this road, I could see, while this is a cool feature and maybe it's provided in some other mechanism or component, I can see why the caching layer itself doesn't have this directly. So, yeah, the caching layer is, I think, said in a simple way, the caching layer is a little bit dumb, right, by design. It's kind of just this, not even registry, it's just this simple repository of like data in, data out, and the ability to clear. Once you start doing things like refresh, it now has to have awareness of like how values are actually calculated. And that starts to get a little fuzzy. So I think the simplest way around this is twofold. What I could do is I could add a bool here called like real time or something like bypass, right? And if I do that, then maybe it doesn't pull it from the cache, and like its default value is false. I could do something like that. Alternatively, I could take this logic and put it somewhere else, and then just know that I can call that helper method at any point in time, right? So I think that's probably what I'm gonna do. Let's do this. Let's do touch bootstrap helpers.php. Let's take this, and what we'll do is we'll change this and say something like calculate products left. All right. And then let's go in helpers. This will be a PHP file, and here we go. Function calculate products left. This returns an int. There it is. And it brings across all of the stuff we want, right? And so if I go back, this, closure. Do I have to? Oh, you have to do like, I think you have to do like the call user whatever there. Okay, so we can wrap this. It's no big deal. We can wrap that. I think you could get fancy with some PHP methods, but we can also just wrap it. Okay, so that's going to call that. And then over here, what I could do is just say if calculate products left is is less than or equal to 0? No, it has to be greater than 0. Well, I want to bail. So I want to say less than or equal to 0. Or it's really just less than 1. You got to be 1, right? Let's just make it easy. Does that read well? If calculate products left is less than 1, then you can't place your order. We're not gonna honor your order right now. So in this case, we will return null. And then now we're out of that atomic lock. We would know that if, is null order, then we would basically like redirect. We would put something in the session, but we would say like return, redirect, back with, sold out. I think we would do something like that. Can't guarantee all this would work. This is where tests start to come into play. This is where the testing layer would come into play. So I think to that point, here's what I want to do. I think off stream, I'll finish out the UI here so it actually works. And then what we'll do next week is we'll write some tests, because again, this has gone from a simple send to checkout and come back to now this rather complex, like it's got caching. We got to make sure, the order quantity is correct. So yeah, let me off stream get this UI right on with an actual product book and description. I'll update that in Stripe as well. And then we know it's saving the order. But what we'll do next week is we'll write some tests to verify kind of our logic here. Do I think this works? Yes. Am I confident that this works? Maybe not 100% confident. 70% confident this all works the way I think. But with tests, I'll be 100% confident and I'll feel much better about launching. So let's do that. Next Wednesday, I'll write tests. I think that's a nice way to finish this. We've kind of spiked on it to see it all work. But now that we're entering this like complex place, I would feel better launching this if I proved out at least store did the proper stuff here, and I could manipulate the the cache and all that kind of stuff and kind of see what happens, right? So let's do that. Let's write some tests for at least the store method next week. So with that, thanks everybody for joining live. I'll see you next Wednesday. And yeah, maybe, hey, if we're really lucky, maybe we'll launch. But if nothing else, we'll write some tests together. And then the following week, I'll launch and these will be for sale. Thanks, everybody.